Welcome to week 1 of Transitioning to a Plant-Based Diet 101. So, I have my notes here and have been preparing for you. So, hopefully, you have your notes. So, I've spent so much time that I'm going to be looking at my notes and hoping that I'm not looking down more than I'm looking up. But I want to make sure you get all the information that I have prepared for you. And so we're just going to get started. My question is first, have you done your homework? So last week I did an introduction and I asked you to watch What the Health. If you've not done that yet, it really sets the foundation for what points I'm trying to make. And so it does state the case very well and gives you a great understanding. So stop now and go back and watch What the Health and go to the threads and answer the question that I laid out for you. All right, we're going to get into our course overview a little bit, and then why mindset matters. Your mindset matters because it's going to be the foundation to your success. If your mind is not right, then this is not going to work out, and I think that's for everything that you do. So this is why we're preparing to get our minds right. All right, so here are the objectives. To understand dietary labels, people don't typically understand the difference between a vegetarian, a vegan, and just eating whole food plant-based. So I want to make sure I get into all of those. And then we want to clarify personal motivation. You have to know why it is you're doing something. So we're also going to start building a supportive mindset. These are all the things that you're going to need to be successful. And we definitely want to come out on top. All right, so the next thing I want to do is outline our weekly progression. So I believe I have 18 weeks here. So this week we're going to go over the things that I just mentioned, and then starting next week we're going to do Nutrition 101, and then Kitchen and Pantry Overhaul, and then Smart Grocery Shopping. And if you look, I already have a quick little video on that. Meal Planning and Prep, Easy Breakfast Ideas, Lunches and on-the-go meals, Dinner Recipes and Techniques, Snacks and Desserts, and I know probably some of you want that dessert first, Social Settings and Dining Out, Overcoming Challenges and Cravings, Common Myths and FAQs, Plant-Based on a Budget, Supplements and Special Nutrient Considerations, Fitness Activity on a Plant-Based Diet, Sustainability and Environmental Impact, Lifestyle Integration and Personal Growth, Long-Term Maintenance, and Next Steps. Some of you may ask, what is the main goal? Ultimately, I would love for everybody to transition to a plant-based diet, but we know that everybody won't do that. Everybody can't do that, but what we can do is keep choosing better for ourselves. And we know from our experience and just other people's experience, and anytime anyone goes to the doctor and they're diagnosed with something, the first thing that they're going to do likely is change your diet. So if nothing else, we know that we need to increase our fruit and vegetable intake. And so that's my hope and prayer for you, is that you learn how to do that and be able to enjoy it. So why does this course exist? I'm always getting questions about, how do I do this, and how do I do that, and how do you do this, and it's just on and on and on, and it's really the same questions over and over again. And I think people beat themselves up about what they want to do and how they need to go about it, or if they didn't stick with something. And really, you just need to choose better. And if you know how to choose better, then that's helpful. So grab your pen and paper if you haven't done so already. There's lots of notes to take, and let's get on with it. All right. Next up, we have defining labels. So vegetarian is going to be your most popular label that you probably hear about. A lot of people do already know what that is, but in general, they are excluding meat and fish from their diet. Typically, you'll find that they are having dairy and or eggs, and somehow there's vegetarian called pesco vegetarian that has decided to include fish. For vegan, there are no animal byproducts whatsoever, although sometimes I hear that some vegans choose to intake honey. So there's some arguments around that. But typically, no meat or dairy of any kind. And then it extends beyond the foods and it goes into a lifestyle. So they would not have leather seats in their car. They wouldn't wear fur. They wouldn't wear leather belts. And they wouldn't have any products that are associated or use any byproduct from any animal source. So that would be the major difference. For your whole food plant-based person, that would be a person looking to have most of their caloric intake come from whole foods such as, fruit, nuts, seeds, legumes, whole food items with minimal processing. All right, so let's go on to address some misconceptions, and we're going to get into a lot of this more on next week. But your protein and nutrient deficiencies, and a lot of people think, well, plant-based eating or vegan or vegetarianism, you're just going to be missing out because the food is bland and it's no good. Now, I will say initially, early on, I thought that, okay, if I'm going to be a vegan or vegetarian, if I would normally eat, say, fried chicken, mashed potatoes, and green beans, then I would have to just take away the fried chicken and just have mashed potatoes and green beans. Well, that doesn't sound that appetizing. It feels incomplete. It feels like I need something else. So I understand and get where you're coming from when you're feeling like you're going to be missing out. So the fear of nutrient deficiencies, some of them are protein, iron, calcium, vitamin B12, and the omega-3s. So really, you can tackle this by making sure you have a balanced diet, that you're including a variety of foods in your diet. If you're a picky eater, it's going to be a little bit more difficult, but maybe we can find some things that you can incorporate that you'll begin to enjoy. So you got to let go of that fear of trying new things, because like I tell my students, you didn't eat that pizza for the first time. All of those things are an acquired taste, so you have to give it a try, just like you gave that a try. Consider supplementation. The B12 and D is not uncommon for people to either need to or feel like they need to supplement. I would say most people could benefit from vitamin D simply because we're indoors all of the time. The B12, you can find B12 deficiency in people who eat meat. So I don't think that's a great argument. And your omega-3s can come from an algae-based source. So your spirulinas and some of the algae products can take care of that one. I always like to get routine checkups. Your regular blood panel that you get when you do your physical, you can ask them for the extra, check my B12, check my iron, check my D levels. I get those checked every year. They do fluctuate. One year, I went to Spain and London and Paris, and it was so sunshiny. I had the best tan ever, and I came back vitamin D deficient. And so I didn't understand that. It was 12 days in the sun. So you just never know. So I make sure that I take a D vitamin just in case. Also, get educated and gather evidence to keep you focused. My favorite source of reputable information is nutritionfacts.org, and that's FACTS. It's by Dr. Michael Greger. It's one of those labor of loves that he does, and you can just type in any subject or any food and see some of the latest information on there. I love that it's not crowded with just junk jumping out at you. Try it and you'll see that it's really good information. And then get yourself a macronutrient tracking app to make sure that you're meeting your needs, because, a lot of times we really don't even know what we need. Most people don't know what they need. And so, if you are willing to commit, and if you're here, you're probably willing to commit. Um, the Forks Over Knives people and the Daily Dozen, um, they have an app that you can put in your information. And I wouldn't say that you would have to do this for the rest of your life, but until you get accustomed to what things are in what food items, then you'll be able to say, okay, now I know about what I need to eat to get what I need. And we'll kind of get into that next week. Personal flexibility. Taking a gradual approach helps for most people, but some people, you just have to do it cold turkey. Like, you got to get rid of it all at one time. And more power to the people that are able to do it. Especially if you have kids, we do, I did one thing at a time. Well, two things sometimes. But I've mentioned before that we got rid of milk and butter first, and I let the boys decide which milk they wanted to have. And I told them, gave them all sticky notes, and I said, okay, I had 7 different kinds of milk, and I said, on the sticky note, I need you to write, would you drink it or just have it in cereal, or both? And so they did it, and they ended up at that time choosing rice milk. They drink almond milk now, but and I like cashew milk. But that's how we got started. So, making some subtle changes and adjusting to where you get used to that thing. I just changed the butter and I didn't ask anybody. And nobody saw any issues with it, and they liked it just fine. And that's what we've been having ever since. And I think they might have been, my middle son had to have been like 7 or 8. And the youngest was probably, I don't know, 5 or 6, something like that. And one would have been 20 and the other is 22 now. So it's been a long time. So making those gradual changes sometimes stick better than doing everything all at once, because that ends up being a lot of pressure in your head. Customize your choices. I think everybody has some individual needs and you have to move it around to suit you. Sometimes, and like this gradual process, you keep certain foods in, that you love, that you may or may not need to get rid of. And then you incorporate other things as you go. And then the hardest things you drop last. And some people do the hardest thing first to get it over with. So you know yourself better than anybody else. So you have to do it the way you feel like you need to do it. But when you're learning new information, it doesn't hurt to give it a try. Then I would say, look at your progress over your perfection. Celebrate the gap. So there's a book called The Gap that's really good. And it talks about, instead of seeing where you should have been or where you feel like you need to be, then you just look at where you started and then where you are. And then you look at the gap. So that shows where your progress is, and that's what you can focus on for yourself. You don't have to compare yourself to anybody else and how fast they're doing it or how slow they're doing it or in what way that they're doing it. You just look at your own gap. And so there's always a win in your gap. Or at least I can say it can always be a win in your gap. Stay open-minded. Try new ingredients and new cuisines and cooking techniques. Everybody doesn't like to cook. So if you're not really cooking and you're always eating out, try a different restaurant. If you enjoy cooking, try some new cooking methods and use some new combinations. Be adaptable. Allow yourself to adjust when you travel. Sometimes that's the hardest part. We're already busy trying to get to where we need to go, whether it's in our personal lives, whether we have kids or whatever. And sometimes we don't plan ahead. So planning can be helpful. You can do this long term if you're willing to just do the work and stick with it. Don't be so hard on yourself, as you are creating new habits. And so you got to be a little gentle. All right, next up, empower yourself through education. There's so many things vying for your attention and for you to purchase them and all of that. Every food product seems like every organization has studies on what they've done. I'm just going to say, if you watch What the Health, follow the money. It'll help you see who you need to ignore and maybe who you need to follow. So some books that are helpful and that have been helpful to me, How Not to Die by Dr. Greger, The China Study, T. Colin Campbell, Becoming Vegan. One of the authors is Brenda Davis. Documentaries, Forks Over Knives, Game Changers was really good. And I mentioned the website, nutritionfacts.org. PCRM.org they may still have a 21-day outline of what you can eat. I sometimes find that when I'm following other people's outlines for myself, there's a lot of things on there that I'm not interested in eating, but I do use those to get some ideas from. So you know how you are and what you like, and you can pretty much veganize anything. All right, and then we have Forks Over Knives as far as the website. And please, when you look through these things, share your tips and experience, and post your homework on the thread so we can all talk about it, because the community that we develop around the new things that we're doing is what helps with the longevity of whatever it is that we're doing. All right. Setting personal intentions and expectations. So you really need to clarify your why. Why do you want to do this? What is your motivation? Is it for health reasons? Is it for the animals? Is it for the environment? What is it? For me, it was for health reasons. I'm paranoid. I got to check this microphone because I'm always having to do a voiceover. As I was learning about things, being in culinary school, watching people get sick just in life and having to change their diets, being in the Personal Chef Association and meeting other chefs who are cooking special dietary things, just my own personal education through the nutrition and holistic aspect of things just made me start thinking. And then my youngest son had ADHD, and so I was looking at the correlation between how foods, preservatives, and dyes and things like that affect someone's health and how it impacts your behavior. So for me, as I was doing the research for my son, I was just blown away by how those things have been impacting him, and that really solidified my move towards plant-based eating. We were still a meat-eating household, so finding ways to minimize processed foods and nitrates and nitrites and all of that in the food, that was a big deal. I would say it was about 2 months from removing so many of those things out of his diet, and I had to do the whole household because it was too much to cook this for this one and cook that for that one. I was like, everybody's doing this diet. And it was actually the ADHD diet. And we were just focused on getting the things out of the food that was unnecessary and causing the problems. So, and then one thing led to another in my research as I was learning. And so here we are all these years later. So for your health, you may want to reduce the risk of chronic disease. Maybe you got diagnosed with something. Maybe something runs in your family. You don't want to have those things: heart disease, diabetes, and obesity. Maybe you want to improve your levels of energy and overall vitality. Maybe you want to support healthy weight management. Maybe you want to enhance digestion and gut health. And maybe you don't have any of those things and you just don't want to get any of those, and you're wanting to maintain your health. For ethical and animal welfare, maybe avoiding contributing to animal cruelty or factory farming. aligning your diet choices with the compassion of living beings, for the living being. Environmental, lowering your carbon footprint by reducing the reliance on livestock, conserving water and other natural resources, and helping preserve the biodiversity and reduce deforestation. The more I learn about these things in movies like Cowspiracy and some of the other movies that the same, what do you call them, directors make, yeah, it really gives you more reason as to why you want to push forward with what you're doing. So it started off as health, but then all of these other things just give you more reason. And then you just have things like explore new cuisines and flavors. So through my culinary program, the kids are doing some international cuisine in their last semester with me. We choose different countries and alternate between that and bacon and pastry. And always up first, because everybody likes Caribbean food. I've not met anybody that doesn't. We do Caribbean. We make an appetizer, a soup, a salad, an entree, a dessert, and if the country has a good bread, like we know the Caribbean does, cocoa bread, or a drink like pina colada, we make all of that and kind of lay it out as a Caribbean Thanksgiving, and we taste all of the things. Well, I found that a lot of the things in some of the cultures are plant-based already, and so I started taking some of those things and making them at home. And I'm like, I'm making that we made at school at home. And so I incorporate those into my own personal, cooking habits and eating habits. And so basically adopting the food of other culture. Connecting with the community with values, healthier, ethical living. And another reason can be potential cost savings when focusing on whole plant-based foods. And then there's the spiritual or personal growth, being or having the mindfulness of healthy eating habits. Then let's look at realistic expectations, acknowledge the challenges, and I wish I could read my writing here. I'm sure it was good. I don't know what I was trying to say. Anyway, you got to have realistic expectations. Embracing your imperfections. So slipping up is not necessarily a failure, but it's a learning experience, right? And then expect social pressure. People are always going to have some questions. You can either be prepared to explain yourself or don't bother explaining yourself. It's your business. And that's really up to you. Gradual progress is normal. It's a journey. And I think all you need to do is just be consistent. And when you're inconsistent, you just have to get back on it. Every day is a new day. And you don't have to wait till the next day. It can be the very next meal that you can make a better choice. Avoid allowing that all or nothing thinking. You don't have to do it cold turkey. You can take your time. You just need to have a plan. Be flexible. And it helps with your motivation. So if you're doing little by little and you do, like, for example, the milk, or you do the butter first, that's something that you say, you know what, I can do this. It's easy. It tastes very similar. And, a lot of the things that I'm going to suggest may be processed things, but this is a transition. We're going from one thing to another thing. So having a drastic change is more difficult to keep in the long term. So just because we're making an adjustment doesn't mean we can't make more adjustments. Like I said, this is about choosing better. And so throughout life, we're going to keep choosing better. Practice self-compassion. Remember your why and regroup and refocus. Like, don't be hard on yourself. And then seek support. Connect with other people that's doing the same thing. And if you need accountability, I won't say that I don't need accountability, but sometimes accountability is annoying because people don't know how to say what helps them with accountability. Like, I don't need you to call me every day asking me, did I do the right thing? Like, that would annoy me to the point that I don't want to be bothered. Um, but it might be being in a group and just seeing people talking about it, and then you're putting in your 2 cents throughout a group, and that holds you accountable, and it's a reminder. So, but I think you do need to find somebody, and it's hard. It has been hard for me over the years because not many people in person um, are doing what I do, and so I have to live and find my support online. So here we are again in another group, going to be supporting each other. The next one is overcoming limiting beliefs. You really have to look at your ants, your automatic negative thoughts, identify what those are, and make some decisions around them. Write down the reoccurring thoughts, and then I'm going to ask you to write down a solution. So I'm going to give you an example. Some people say, well, I might not get enough protein. I don't think I'm going to get enough protein. A solution could be look at what you need, and then look at your menu, and then keep track in an app. And then you can be certain whether or not you're getting enough protein. So most people don't even know how much protein they need. So that's always the first crazy question people ask. Where do you get your protein? Same place your animals do. So another example is this is just too hard. You're telling yourself that from the jump that I can't do this. And I think it's from a lot of times lack of knowledge. And so you could say, you need to ask yourself why. And again, I can't read my writing. So when asking or not asking yourself, but whenever you're saying that an example like it's too hard to do, you have to go and look at why are you saying that? Is it because you're not willing to commit to yourself? So you really have to ask yourself, hey, do I love myself enough to commit to doing better? And then stay committed. Challenge each belief. Ask yourself, is it fact or fear? And use a reliable resource to debunk whatever myths that come up for you. Replace with positive affirmations. Turn I can't do this into I'm learning every day how to do this better and better, and I'm making progress. Find yourself some role models. You want to connect with some people that have been successful in this. And so with the world of the internet and all of these pages we can follow, get some strategies on how to get it done. Small wins enforce new beliefs. With every new plant-based meal or meatless day, you're building confidence and you're building this repertoire of meals that you can go back to. Celebrate your progress. Recognize even the little things as evidence that you're able to grow and change. So, this is wrapping up to the end, but first we have to have homework. Now, again, if you made it all this way and you still haven't watched What the Hell, then you have past due homework. There are many action items throughout what we've talked about. I've given you some suggestions of some things that you can do to implement a plant-based diet, and I want you to feel free to share them in the comments. But your official homework will be list 1 to 3 reasons for going on a plant-based diet. Why do you want to do this? Number 2 is identify mindset barriers, and don't just identify them, but give a solution for each one. And then number 3, commit to a daily mindset practice such as, here's some examples: journaling, guided meditation, gratitude list, mindful meals, visualization, goal check-ins, inspirational reading, accountability, text messaging with a friend or in a group. So any of those things will do, but commit to at least one of them, not all of them. All right, so let's wrap up this week 1. We've gone over our overview and our course goals. We've defined labels and addressed some misconceptions. We've identified, or we're thinking about, our why. reviewing realistic expectations, overcoming limiting beliefs, and we're going to choose our why, identify mindset barriers, and commit to a daily mindset practice. So in our next lesson, it'll be Nutrition 101. And we're going to do an overview of macronutrients, some vitamins and minerals, and some more myths and myth busters. We're really going to get into how much protein we need. I want to spend a little bit of time on that because that really is the biggest one. We're going to decide and figure out how much protein your body needs, and then go over some foods and things that you can get the protein that you need from some plant-based sources. And then from that, you can start building your menu. Let's see. You probably already know, because that's why you're here, that a plant-based diet can really transform your life. Understanding the variety of plant-focused options, acknowledging the common misconceptions, and cultivating a strong supportive mindset, you will be laying the groundwork for a lifetime of improved health and positive eating habits. So be patient with yourself, seek out credible sources, and celebrate each plant-powered step forward. So I want you to comment with your homework answer. Well, that pretty much wraps it up. I would love for you to like, share, comment, subscribe, do all the things. That will be helpful. And all of the platforms, YouTube, TikTok, and Instagram, it is Choose Better with Tiffany. So I'd love for you to follow me in those places. And if you're on a platform watching this that's not YouTube, you can go to YouTube to find the full lesson so you won't miss anything. Until next time, nourish your journey, please, and keep choosing better.